Regional Planning Commission meeting. We are absent a couple of members tonight, so as such, anytime we are, I'd like to read the quorum and sort of our rules for Planning Commission. It says the presence of 5 members of the commission shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, wait up to 30 minutes after the scheduled meeting time for a quorum to be present. In the event that a member is required to leave a meeting prior to adjournment and the departure causes a loss of quorum, no further official action may be taken until a quorum is restored other than an adjournment. A majority vote of those commissioners present, and in no case less than 4 affirmative votes, shall be required to decide any item of business requiring action by the commission. With that being said, we will move to our first item on our agenda tonight, and that is to set the agenda. I am unaware of any changes or adjustments. Seeing none out there, we will set the agenda as stated. And we will move on to our staff reports. Start with Ms. Hamble.
I just wanted to remind you guys of an email that Jill sent to you earlier in the week pertaining to a continuing education class that the county is holding on September 1st at 6 p.m. And it's going to be at the fairgrounds in Lebanon. And the topic is stormwater. So I think that would be a great opportunity for you guys to get ahead of any continuing education hours. If you are worried about possibly having to sit in front of a monitor and during a virtual class for 4 hours, this would be a great in-person opportunity for you to get some of those hours. So if you are interested, let myself or Jill know and we'll get you signed up for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barlow.
Sure thing. Not a lot in the way of announcements. I did want to introduce the newest member to the Public Works and Engineering team. We have made a hire for us. We've hired our new city engineer, Shane Chamanur. He comes to us from the consultant side, and so got his background is he's got some really good wide array of things from water, stormwater, sewer, roadway, all that good stuff. So pleased to have him. Shane, would you want to come up to the podium and introduce yourself?
Please do.
Ladies and gentlemen, Shane Chamanur, Tennessee guy, grew up down in Lawrence County, went to Tech, and like Andy said, I went to Mississippi for a while, learned the government side before I came back to Tennessee and worked in Smyrna as in the consulting world for Dempsey Dilling and Associates before coming to work for the great city of Mount Juliet. I'm excited. Andy's a great boss to work for so far and looking to serve the citizens and Planning Commission, Board of Commissioners, everybody, and try to give my best effort each time out. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Pleasure to work for you guys.
Welcome.
So we're very excited to have Shane on board. The idea, I think, is that he's going to really be heading up a lot of the management of the projects, and that's going to put him up here with the Planning Commission a lot. And so as we sort of diversify a lot of the things that we do, I think you're going to be seeing a lot more of them as time goes on. So that's all I've got.
Want to give us any updates on city projects?
Well, probably the biggest one is that I know the bridge widening, that is in TDOT's hands. I believe my understanding of it did not make the August letting. I believe it's in the October letting, which is the very next one. So that's set up, ready to go. And we're very excited to see that one going. Once I know a little bit more here in the next couple of months, I'll share some more information, because we're going to have to really get a lot of public information out about traffic zones and things like that. I can anticipate some disruptions. No lane closures during rush hour times, but I can anticipate some disruptions for us. That's going to be one of the things that we're going to have patience for, but I think we'll be rewarded by. We do have the Lebanon Road Sidewalks project is currently under construction, so you may be seeing that one. A lot of our other projects we've actually finished up. Belinda City finished that one up. We finished up Woodridge Place sidewalks over there as well, and getting close to getting the Greenway finished up. A couple little punch list items out there that we got to get done. A couple of things cleared up. So a lot of things actually getting wrapped up. So we're very excited to see those things happening.
What about our school is officially open for the first time with Green Hill? How was movement and that project? And what we anticipated, predicted, or is it working?
Yeah, everything as far as on our side, I believe is working well. I think it's been, I know it's a very different year for the school system and for everybody around. It's a little bit of a blessing from a traffic standpoint for everybody to kind of get used to things and sort of this on again, off again, or staggered schedule, I guess you could say. So for us, no issues right now. Once everything gets going full speed, once we have everybody on campus, I can probably anticipate we're going to have to work through some traffic issues with the signals and things like that. So, but everything seems to be going pretty smoothly. I think they got everything paved in time, so happy to see that.
So I saw they've started to put the other signal on blink now. Well, that one will be removed and
That is
stop
correct.
signs on each side installed.
That is correct. So we actually went through and did a traffic analysis out there, did that yesterday actually, and figured out that it's true. It's not even being close to being warranted anymore, just as we suspected. And so that signal will eventually come out after a period of time, about 3 months.
Are those ours? Do we get to keep them?
We do.
We do?
Mhm.
Use them, push them going forward?
Yep, we do.
That's great. Commissioner Franklin?
Yeah, I have a few questions. For the new members on here, I guess the reason I'm on the planning commission is because Mayor Haggerty a nice gesture to the county, said wanted a representative from the county. And so I hear a lot of the concerns from county commissioners, county residents. When I hear them, I bring them in. And for whatever reason, I had all kinds of comments this weekend. So first of all, on the school zone by West Wilson, is that going to be narrowed some? I know we've still got a private school up there that has school, but do we really need a 1 mile school zone for that basically one entrance?
We've talked about that, and that's still I guess being looked at. And it does, once you take out the equation of West Wilson Middle in there, it does elongate it really unnecessarily. So right now, basically the times are just set up for MJCA, but we have had that discussion. The question then is you'd leave the overhead arm on one side, you have to move up, basically turn one dark and then put up signs on the side. We're trying to weigh that and trying to look and see what options we might have for making sure that that's signed correctly.
Well, the school's not going to be there for at least another year,
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
more, maybe ever. I don't know that the county's even made a decision with the insurance and so forth. So it could be that, it might be permanent, whatever you decide.
Sure, yeah.
Other comments that I got had to do with draining over there. A lot of the county residents of Central Pike, commissioners as well, are getting calls and calls and calls about drainage off 3 subdivisions. The third phase of Baird Farms, Winfield, and Harrington. And I know you've been over there working with them, and I appreciate all that. Could you give us any kind of update? I heard even there was a stop work order or something issued on one of the subdivisions.
Yes, we've had a couple of different issues out there. Those are Baird Farms, Winfield, and Harrington, all 3. And unfortunately, this summer, if you look at the intensity rates, we actually had 2 100-year storms about 3 weeks apart.
Yeah.
And so that's going to expose any issue, basically, even small, it's going to expose it. And so we went through those. We issued a stop work on Harrington until they had everything fixed to our satisfaction. Winfield does have, we have tried to make some incremental adjustments out there. They are doing things that we're asking them to do, and so that is good. I believe everything is there as designed. A lot of it, just as it gets built out, it's going to be better, ironically. Right now in the state that it's in construction is the worst stage that you can be in for those large downbursts. And then Baird, we actually had to issue a notice of violation as well for that. And so they were, it wasn't just they weren't doing what we were asking them to do. We had some issues that warranted that violation. They were actually in violation of their TDEC permit pretty significantly. And so all 3 of those making efforts, as far as I know, I think Baird has gone in and corrected those, or at least in the process of correcting those. And so we've been hearing a lot, I guess, for now about 3 weeks or so, since that last storm.
Yeah.
Really identifying that and fixing them.
And I just got one more question. In the case that we find that one of these subdivisions is actually doing everything that the plans require them to do, but it's still losing water drastically if it's just not working. I mean, engineering is a great science and art, but sometimes maybe it's in the wrong place, or maybe it has to have another detention. Is there any? Can staff do that? Does that have to be taken up here, or what?
I mean, it's in where we're at on those developments. I think we're in a good place to where if we have to make some adjustments, we've talked about it specifically with Winfield. Do we have to go and do we have to adjust the detention ponds? There's a way that we can go and adjust that to try to lower that flow. No, only if it came to an impasse. But we have had that discussion as well, and that's still on the table.
We can monitor those and say move to their next phases or come before us, so we can certainly open that for discussion. That's good information.
We
I'm
will.
sure there's
We
letters
will
of
have more
credit.
final plats.
Where's the flooding going?
Some of it is jumping across Central Pike, and it's pretty obvious it's coming from the development because it's brown water. I mean, it's it's getting off the development, and like Andy says, it's under construction, but they're supposed to hold the water, and then there's some that's just draining, and I think it's just all this at once. There are 3 pretty good large subdivisions all going at once, and a lot of the people that's lived out there, some of the people who've lived out there for generations,
Yeah.
And so they know what it's like. They've had rains. They've lived here for a long time. And so when something's really unusual,
Good stuff.
they know.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Actually, that's something else to add that I forgot about.
Fire away.
Last month, we heard the transient habitation ordinance to allow CT, that use in CTC, and Mr. Franklin made a recommendation to add a C for conditional use permit. So they would have to go to the BZA. And I was discussing with Gino before the Board of Commissioners meeting, and I thought about it that night on the way home, and I just wasn't quick enough on my feet. The BOC is actually allowed to grant a conditional use permit as part of a PUD. So that would seem redundant to me. So when it went to the Board of Commissioners, I asked that they keep it as I presented it with just the P, because then you would get into a situation where the Board of Commissioners could have the Board of Zoning Appeals going against something that they had voted one way or the other on. And I just feel like that's kind of redundant. And I apologize that I didn't think about it that night, but I don't think it would be appropriate to add that C to the conditional use because the Board of Commissioners has the authority to grant that conditional use. So,
Sure.
So when it goes to the BOC, that's,
Where they can do it.
Gotcha.
Could it be a supplement? Because the Board of Commissioners
feel
could
like-
vote on those uses.
I feel like when it gets to the BOC, they will add some supplemental provisions to that from what I'm hearing behind the scenes. As far as locations and proximity to Caldwell.
Very good. Good stuff. Any other questions? It's good stuff. Thank you, Bob. All right. We will now move forward to our next item on the agenda, and that will be citizen comments. At this time, we'll take citizen comments. Public is welcome and encouraged to make public comment about any item on our agenda. There'll be 2 opportunities for you to make comments. You may speak now, or you may speak when the item is presented to the Planning Commission. We do ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. And if anyone wishes to address the Planning Commission at this time, welcome and encouraged to do so. Oh, yeah, we got to get your name and address for the record.
Yeah. Thank you. Kenny Martin, City Manager for City of Mount Juliet, 2425 North Mount Juliet Road. Thank you all first and foremost for what you do, especially in these trying times with COVID and tornadoes and windstorms and flooding and you name it. I appreciate your efforts immensely, and it shows in our city. The reason I'm here tonight is there's a item coming up on the agenda. I believe it's the first item tonight. It's for Mr. Bobby Gadazra, who's sitting here. I've known him for some time. He's been developing in our community for many, many years. Did the Hampton Inn, then did the Marriott. And then he's wanting to do a dual brand hotel, which has already been approved at the planning commission level. Project's already started, but as everybody knows with COVID and the economic impact on the hospitality industry, it's been pretty tough. So he's back before you tonight, I think, asking for a reduction in some of our requirements. And I respect staff, of course, immensely, and I respect the commission. So whatever you ultimately decide, I'll support 100%. But just wanted to come on his behalf and speak in his favor that any consideration given his request would be most appreciated. I understand what he's doing and the investment he's got coming in our community and what he's trying to do there. And so I told him I'd come on his behalf and speak in his favor. I appreciate him, what he's done for our community. I appreciate our planning commission. So I'll support whatever, but I understand where he's at. He's going to build a beautiful product regardless. And I know that Hilton and True Brand, they expect the best of quality, and that's what he'll do regardless of what the planning commission decides. So I just want to come and speak on his behalf and thank everyone here for what you do for our community.
Yes, sir. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
See no additional citizen comments at this time. We'll move forward with our first item on the agenda. It's underneath item 2.1 is the Planning Commission regular meeting minutes from July 16th of 2020. Any adjustments, amendments, typos, changes, corrections? Seeing none at this time, looking for a motion in regards to this item on our agenda. Motion, second by Commissioner Searcy. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved. Next item on our agenda is our consent agenda items. We'll begin with item 3.1, Baird Farms Phase 1 Sewer Letter of Credit number SLC 00005206 in the amount of $286,643.25 can be released. Item 3.2, Beckwith North Sewer Letter of Credit number IS 0000596447U in the amount of $311,321.50 can be released. Item 3.3, Beckwith West HCA Phase 2 Owen Alexander Extension Development Letter of Credit number 13550303061 can be reduced to 25% of the project cost, a reduction to $30,395. Item 3.4, Stone Hollow Phase 4, Section 1, Sewer Letter of Credit Number 9007801 in the amount of $105,058.50 can be released. Item 3.5, Tuscan Gardens Phase 17, Sewer Letter of Credit Number 954-255-3054-90019 in the amount of $23,128.50 can be released. Item 3.6, review the site plan for 854 North Mount Juliet Road. Item 3.7, review the site plan modification for the Wash and Roll Office Building located at 11400 Lebanon Road. Item 3.8, which is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners, is to review the rezone request for the Golden property located at 4591 Beckwith Road. Ms. Hamlin.
Staff recommends approval or positive recommendation for item 3.8 with any conditions listed. I did want to add for 3.6, the site plan modification for 854, the Wash and Roll building. So item 3.7, to move that bike rack, I'm just going to add the condition to move the bike rack to the front of the building.
Wonderful. Mr. Barlow, anything from Public Works? Questions or comments from the commission? Please, Commissioner Franklin.
Request recommendation, it's a straight zoning. And so is there anything that could go, they're not bound to the two-story building by this. So is there anything that you can think of that could go there that would?
We've taken the less desirables out of that classification section for the housing, so I can put ourselves on that basis.
Thank you.
Good point. Further questions or comments? This time I'd like to call for citizen comments. Anyone wishing to make comments, welcome and encouraged to do so. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion in regards to the items on our consent agenda to include a positive or negative recommendation in regards to item 3.8. It's a motion to approve and a positive recommendation. Very well. It's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye, raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved and so positively recommended. Next item on our agenda is item 4.1 that falls underneath a site plan modification. It is to review the site plan modification for the Hilton True Hotel located at 1975 Providence Parkway. Mr. John.
Yeah. All right, as Mr. Martin had mentioned, this is a site plan modification, a request specifically to reduce the amount of brick on the facade of this building. About a year ago, it was approved by planning, and it was approved with a facade that included 74.4% brick and stone and 20% EIFS and 5% fiber cement siding. This is what the plan had. I think it's how it ended up that way specifically. The request before you now is to include 61.7% brick and stone and 32.7% EIFS. The amount of fiber cement siding stays the same, and the swap of materials is primarily above the first floor. So the higher reaches of the building where there was previously stone, it's highlighted on the plans. That is the areas that would be going to EIFS from stone. Comparable hotels recently approved. They're kind of all over the place. We have the Stay Bridge, for instance, was 100% brick or stone. A Residence Inn, not. Marriott, not. Avid, not 100% either. But our requirement is 100% brick or stone, as you all know. So staff has to recommend denial in this regard because of it. No offense, but that is the code and that is our recommendation. But you can see in the staff report, it's, not a huge increase, but an increase in EIFS and rather than brick or stone. So that's where we stand on it. And if you have any questions, let us know. Thank you.
Thank you. There's some additional comments in relation to that on planning. Are those just making sure that they're remaining in there, or those new comments?
Are you talking about here?
Yes, ma'am.
We just included that so you guys would know the conditions of approval placed upon this development originally.
Mostly the previous, okay.
The request tonight is just for an increase of
Okay.
EIFS in lieu of the stone where provided before.
Gotcha. Very well.
Yeah, those conditions on the first page are the conditions from last year this
Okay.
time, just to illustrate that it was a condition. Those percentages were the condition.
Perfect.
All right.
Questions or comments from the commission?
I have a question.
Please.
So from the original, I guess, since I didn't see the original drawing, the changes, obviously, I'm guessing they're in the yellow boxes.
Yes, sir.
So going from what to,
So the original plans are on the next page and it's stone. They have a stone shown.
okay, so yeah, in black and
And
white.
then in those
couldn't
areas,
tell.
yes, sir, like on the first floor, it was just, you see how under the yellow box, it's stone there.
Yeah,
And so that was going to be for the entire length of that wall, the height of that wall.
Commissioner Giles, did you have something?
That was somebody else was getting ready to say, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, I have a question. prior to 2019, what are some of the ones that have this much EFS?
I'm not sure on the dates, but we provided, so the Stay Bridge is 100% brick or stone. The Residence Inn, which has just been completed, is 32% EFS, and the Holiday Inn, they're proposing that the 11%, the one that the dual brand there that we just approved a few months ago, it was 11% EFS. I don't have the dates. This one's fairly recent.
Okay. I was just wondering because there wasn't anything behind that. I mean, are there any thoughts about maybe putting more stone on the front of it just for the appeal of it, just for the?
Let me go ahead and introduce myself.
Yeah.
This is Bhavin Godastra, the developer of the hotel. And this is our third project in town. So the first hotel we built was the Hampton Inn and Suites. That's a 12-year-old hotel is open. And that hotel had a brick on the first floor. All the upper floors are EFS. Then the next project we did was the Marriott Courtyard. And that hotel had roughly 50% masonry, brick and stone. Rest of it was EFS. And as far as the projects that have been approved in the last couple of years, the project that we are close to is the Residence Inn. Our boundaries touch. We have the same retaining wall. And that hotel, according to the staff comments that I read, they had 36% EFS. And we are requesting 32% EFS on our site. And there are a couple of things. One thing that obviously in the last few months, things have changed. COVID-19 hit, has decimated our industry, struggling really hard with a lot of things going on. And we don't have a clear lane as to when the industry will recover. The projections are up to 5 years from now. And then the other thing that happened to our project while we were going through the Planning Commission last year was that we had, there was a ditch on the property that was designated by TDAC. And then right when we were about to start construction, they came back for a second survey because they had passed the 5-year statutory limit. And when they came, it's arbitrary number, but they came in and they inspected the ditch and they said that now it's a small stream and you have to pay bonds to go get this rectified or you cannot build on this property. So we had to pay $150,000 to the state to mitigate that aspect of it. And that was on top of all the construction costs that we had to incur. And then COVID-19 happened. So, we are requesting that we have a project that's next to us that has more EFS at present. And they have done changes that we are not even asking for. One of them being the monument sign. They have a monument sign over there that has no brick. And they also have surrounding units next to the building that we are actually putting the concrete foundation and we are building the stones around it and everything else. They just put the Trex wood siding on it. And that hotel just opened this month. So we are right next to them and they happen to have more EFS than we do. And we are doing things that they were not required to do. So we are humbly requesting that if you could please consider the factors involved in the project and also considering, that this is our third project in the community and our hotels are actively involved in the community. We do all kinds of things here, from Red Cross, blood drives and all that to any number of other things. So I'm requesting to see if you can please approve this request from us based on the situation we are in.
The COVID, this pandemic is very real, obviously, as we can all see, and it has made an enormous impact on our economy here. The restaurants that have closed, and so we really are experiencing a lot of this. So I can definitely understand, and the advantage of hotels is the people come, they spend their money, and they leave. So. Thank you.
Thank
Go to
you. And
Providence
also,
right now. see the difference.
Absolutely. And staff does a great job. Y'all doing great. You did what you're supposed to do. So
Commissioner Franklin?
Yeah. Believe it or not, the county tax collections are impressively high through all of this. Believe it or not, retail has been higher than we thought. We had to loan the school system money to cover one of their fund debts. And the first month, they gave it back to the county. That's how good things had been going, except for one area, and that's hotel motel tax. And it's down about half or less. It's extraordinarily, I mean, that's one fund that has never gone down in the county the whole time I've been there. And it's down, and it's not coming back up very much at all. So, you know, he's been a good partner with the city. You know, I can support this. I want him to keep building. A lot of projects got this much adversity, they probably would have already just folded up and went and waited it out or something. But he's trying to go forward, and I hope he can. So I can support this.
Sure.
And may I say also
Please.
that one of the things that we all saw in our society is that as soon as people could start getting out and they had these phases, they were just everywhere. It was like Providence when people started. It was like Christmas up there. I wouldn't even go up there, let alone getting out. So just wait till this is over and people start taking their vacations and going. We'll be glad that we have, you know, enough hotels to facilitate them, which will be those dollars that we need. And don't forget that the hotel motel tax also supports our parks, trying to buy some land, which we've got to do, I hope soon. You know, so I wanted to add that as well.
Sure. Good points. Further questions, comments from the commission? Seeing none at this time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and call for citizen comments in regards to this item on the agenda. Any citizens wishing to make comments, welcome and encouraged to do so. Seeing no citizen comments, I'd like to ask for a motion in regards to this item on our agenda.
I'll make a motion to grant this.
Motion?
Yeah.
Motion and a second by Commissioner Franklin. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? Welcome back to town. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It is to review the preliminary master development plan PUD and rezone for 7-Eleven convenience store located at the southwest corner of Golden Bear Gateway and Volunteer Boulevard. Ms. Hamlin.
As you just stated, this development is located just north of the SIVA building that was destroyed in the recent tornado that we had in March. The site is currently zoned office professional services, and the requested zoning is a commercial mixed-use PUD, which the land use supports that request. The proposal is for a 5,464 square foot in size 7-Eleven convenience store with the associated restaurant. They do have a couple of variances requested for the supplemental provisions for a convenience store in the CMU zoning classification, and I have those listed in our staff report. One is the radius request. They're just outside that 2,000-foot radius from an interchange that's required in the supplemental provisions for a convenience store. They are 456 square feet over in size. The limit is 5,000 square feet. And they have asked for 3 additional pumps to serve their diesel community. Aside from these variances, which staff does support because this is such a needed use over in this area, we don't have any issues with it. The building design, site design, circulation, those types of things will come in later at the final master development stage, and staff recommends approval with our conditions listed. This is a great project, and this they have been a great to work with also. I wanted to add that. They've done everything we've asked, so I appreciate that.
Mr. Barlow.
I'll echo that as well. As you go through the development process, staff, I know that we oftentimes will encounter some projects where you may realize there may be some sticking points on some things, but they and their engineering representatives have done a very good job of working through this with us. So, but on to the project itself, our Public Works comments there, and I believe they've got most everything depicted pretty well. Maybe some minor modifications here and there, but the big stuff is all included. And that is, we are, and I want to talk a little bit more about access to Golden Bear Gateway. I know Commissioner Franklin has talked a lot about that in the past, that this is the road we need better control on. And so looking at our sites, looking at our locations generally, so if you look at the site plan that they have included in the layout, intersection of Volunteer and Golden Bear is pending having a signal installed there. So you have a signalized intersection there, full access. FedEx does have a full access. However, hopefully in the future we can rectify that some to where they come out on Volunteer instead of directly onto Golden Bear. You have Amazon further down to the west, northwest. They have a right in, right out mid-block in between what are or will be two signalized intersections. This area is a little bit of a longer block. I anticipate having two right in, right outs in between there. The idea is to not have an access opposite of FedEx. This would be right in, right out. They would have a raised median to prevent those turns. Basically, staff has taken the stance that right in, right outs don't work unless you have a median. That is a pretty hard stance.
Support that.
And thanks to Matt. Matt has been the one really been pushing that from our side. So that is his flag, and he's been taking it, and I fully support him on that. And so we're going with that. So the median they show, we're probably gonna have to elongate that out just a little bit. But that's more for site plan for y'all for later. Showing the 10-foot multi-use path on Golden Bear Gateway, which is standard for what we're having on all developments on there. We have bike lanes out there and shoulders. However, there's no pedestrian or mixed use kind of things. Your bike lanes are more for your serious cyclists. Your multi-use paths are more for your average cyclist, somebody like me. And so you have sidewalks. This is a development that does have 3 road frontages with no sidewalk pedestrian activity yet. And so they do have that shown. They have complied with our request on these. And so a couple of little minor things in there, but all in all, we did list everything out just for posterity's sake in our comments, but they have depicted everything very well. So that's the gist of it. Let me know if you have any questions.
Mr. Franklin.
Sure.
On the right in, right out, where it's split on the property divide, is there a permanent easement going to be granted by, because I noticed that the adjacent property owner probably has great legal counsel. Oh, it is?
If
Okay.
they are acquiring it. So that would be included. That'd have to be part of an access easement right there.
Okay. The other thing is, and it's just a question, I don't know, does it need 2 entrances on Rutland?
We talked with them at length about that. And I would say in a typical situation, if Rutland was anything more than what it is or what it ever could be, I would say no. The fact of the matter is, basically, it is really not much more than a road serving about 4 or 5 homes and a church right now.
All it'll ever serve.
And that's correct. You have just to the south of this is the SEVA building that this planning commission saw, I guess, probably about 2 or 3 months ago, that they were expanding the footprint for that. And so, yeah, I think that was back in July. And so that is distribution center to the south. They're not accessing the roadway. We are having them bring that pavement width up to a standard 24-foot pavement width plus curb and gutter on their side. So it is providing some extra width, which is really necessary, and upgrading their half of the roadway basically is what it amounts to. So more or less, I would typically tell you no, that I would only recommend one. That was one of the gray areas that we talked about early on with applicants. But it is one that, based on the volumes out there and based on what we see that road being in the future, I don't see this side of Rutland really ever being much.
I'm going to piggyback that real quick because I see three things problematic. And one of them stems from what I consider my tenure up here, probably one of my worst decisions, without a doubt, and that is a gas station canopy. So I'm just thinking aloud as I look through this. I've had, I guess, the lucky experience enough to drive a 18-wheeler with a 53-foot trailer on the back, which is pretty interesting. This is set up to be a mini truck stop of sorts, and there's no denying that. And so I think about the movement of an 18-wheeler on this. So if I am getting off 40 and I'm going Golden Bear and I can't make it to FedEx and I need some fuel to be able to get there because I know I'm going to be sitting at the loading dock for a little bit before I go, I'd rather go and get my fuel early. I have to turn down Volunteer Boulevard, and then I have to go in that second entrance. So hence I would say that second entrance is necessary because you'll get more car traffic in the first than you will the second. Then I have to go on down Golden Bear. And obviously if I come in the second entrance, I can get right to those diesel pumps. You hadn't figured out how in the world I'm going to turn that thing around in this parking lot. Virtually impossible. Ain't happening. So you're going to turn right and you're going to come around Golden Bear to get back out of that first entrance, which is, I've already said, most likely your car entrance. And you got a 25-foot side setback. Ain't going to make it. Not happening. And that 25-foot side setback from that canopy and the curb is concerning to me. Then let's take the other route. I want to get fuel before I go to the interstate. So I turn in, I got our decel lane. We turn in that right in, right out. We can get right to that. Your movement out there, and even if you don't expect anything to happen over there on Northwest Rutland, is also going to be a challenging movement back onto Rutland Road right there to get yourself out. Which also leads to my third thing. You've got queued up, most likely overnight parking, which is not an exciting opportunity for me. There's a bunch of warehouses down the road. This, as you just stated, maybe nothing happens behind them. So that means that we have overnight tractor trailer parking in a gas station right behind residential houses. That does not excite me. I grew up when 109 down there had a sleazy truck stop. This is not by any means anything to that. This is, I love the elevations, love the building and everything, but you're catering to 18 wheelers. And I think it's not conducive and a poor design to move your trucks around on your site. And so you're going to have to convince me how I'm going to move an 18 wheeler on and off this site. If not, my opinion, you need to nix your diesel fuel side over there. And I think you need to nix your overnight parking. So you're welcome to come to the microphone, name and address, and explain that to me.
My name is Ken Douglas with Development Management Group, and I'm here representing the developer, Octane Partners, as well as the property owner, Mr. Lowry. Let me respond to your comments first. So we have run truck templates on this. Trucks are able to pull into that 40-foot drive. pull into the diesel pumps, and they can circulate back out the 40-foot drive.
How do they circulate back out?
They would basically pull through that, and they would make a left turn back around. There's a sea of pavement out there. We've run all the truck simulations on it to make sure that it worked. 7-Eleven has done the same thing. They run their own truck simulations as well. So we can demonstrate that this works fine. And also too, and you probably picked up on this, but I just want to make sure I clarify that, there's what's sitting out in front of those canopies is actually underground tanks adjacent to the main fuel canopies. So all of that out in front of that whole area is just a sea of asphalt. And the trucks actually turn very well. And we're happy to share truck simulations with staff at any point to kind of demonstrate that. Overnight parking, I'm not really sure that these are intended for that. They're mainly intended for truckers that want to park the truck, go in the store and do whatever they need to do in the store. This is not a setup with 7-Eleven that has showers and those kinds of things that other truck stop uses provide to their truck customers. And if it's a concern, then we could talk with 7-Eleven about making sure that they stipulate that there is no overnight truck parking here. But those spaces are actually intended to allow their truck patrons to come in the store, gives them a place to park without, blocking traffic or creating an issue on site. So those are my responses to that. And then the comments the commissioner made a few minutes ago. Cross access with the property to the west. As Jennifer mentioned, this is all owned by Mr. Lowry, although Octane Partners is planning to purchase the 7-Eleven parcel once it's subdivided. But there is an REA in the works that will cover cross access, shared utilities, those kinds of things, as well as creating a shared access easement at that driveway. The intent is, and as Andy mentioned a few minutes ago, there's a lot of frontage here between Volunteer and then the next street up to the west. That's going to be limited to 2 right-in, right-out driveways. So those will all be shared with these parcels that are going to be between those 2 streets. As far as the driveways in the back off Rutland, the intent, as it was mentioned, is that we want to try and eliminate opportunities for, regular car traffic to commingle with the larger trucks. So this gives the trucks, everything's kind of on that one side, gives them the ability to do what they need to do on that side, and it gives the normal patrons an opportunity to come in and out of the site off Rutland, off the smaller drive. One other point I want to make too with regard to the diesel, this 7-Eleven is very excited about this parcel, this particular property, mainly due to its proximity to the interstate. Diesel is a critical element to them in their business model for this site, mainly due to, again, the interchange proximity, as well as all the industrial use that's out here, all the truck traffic that's occurring out here. So this is a critical piece of their business model for this particular location. So it would be a big deal for them to not have diesel here. Is there anything else I can add?
Let me go back to that real quick. So I know that they like to back in mainly over there. Most of them don't like to pull in forward and back out of a space of that length right there. And so if you're backed into that space and you need to make a northbound movement to head back towards Division Street, how is that truck making that turn radius to get in that entrance?
I'm sorry, coming out of the truck parking
If I was
spaces?
backed into any one of those 5 parking places, how am I getting my truck out of there if I want to go back to Division?
You mean coming back through Rutland?
Yeah. How do you get back to Rutland?
Well, again, we run the truck models on it. they all demonstrate that truck traffic works.
And then if you got people in the fuel line fueling up, and if I scale this right, they're hanging back there, which would prohibit any of that movement. So I don't understand how you can say that you ran a model when you can just scale it and you can see that the movement is really not there.
Well, and
That's where I'm struggling to have a hard time with the way that the diesel canopy is positioned over there and how that movement is really going to be, as you mentioned, you said yourself, the smaller entrance is great for our pedestrian traffic. The bigger entrance is great for the trucks. And I could not agree more. But as I look at it, you're going to bring the trucks into their drive lanes to try to get your truck movement on and off the truck.
Mhm.
I just don't see any way about it. And so ours, and what we're doing here is mainly the citizens that we're going to represent are the ones that are going to be in the cars.
Mhm.
And so that's who we have to look after up here. So when you place those parking places, then you place people at your fuel docks, and I think it's going to be very popular. I think it's hugely welcome. I was super excited to see it.
Mhm.
I just got to figure out how we're going to get the 18 wheelers around your site because I mean,
I understand. I
I
appreciate.
just don't see it.
Yeah, I appreciate your concern, but again, we will work with staff and provide them truck simulations that have been run by 7-Eleven and our own company. And we'll work with them to demonstrate how this works, and if there are adjustments that need to be made to make that better, we're happy to consider those. But
And that's something we would see on a final answer.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
so much
Right.
conceptual in nature. It's basically the use.
Yeah.
Which is a great use for this site. I mean, we're losing so many tax dollars to the east, and we need some service,
I think it'll be great right there.
services
Yeah.
to
And
those
so, yeah,
employees.
Ms. Hamlin's right. I think that when you come back, I do think that these are going to have to be addressed.
of course,
And the canopy being so far over there, that 25-foot side over there, I think that you're going to get trucks in that area. And it's going to be a hard thing to get in and out.
are you speaking specifically of the 25-foot drive aisle that's on that one side of the canopy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if you do get a truck that says, well, somebody's in the fuel, I parked over here in these 5 parking places. 3 guys are in the fuel docks currently, and they're facing, northbound like this. And I got to get this load drop, or I got to get out of here so I can meet my schedule or lose my hours so I don't have to park. I'm going to come around, and if I get stuck up there, there's just probably don't have that radius to use that quote unquote car entrance
Right.
over there to get around. He could use the right in, right out, so that is probably a null and void, but I can just see some scenarios that if your drawings do scale, that if you put a 53-foot truck with or a 53-foot trailer and then a 20-plus foot truck right there, we're sitting 73 feet. And if you're looking at 73 feet stacked in there, as you know, the fuel tanks are on the front. So it really means that you got 60-plus feet hanging out the back end, which kind of semi-blocks that movement pattern right there. Because I think it's going to be super popular. And I think that you're going to get a lot of trucks in there, a lot of big trucks in there, and you're going to get a lot of cars, and it's going to be awesome. So what I want to see is just a way that we're really going to move them around, even if that requires a possibility of moving your fuel tanks or something possibly.
And I won't disagree with that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm confident, as I said, that 7-Eleven has looked at all these scenarios, and I'll make sure that we have whatever documentation we need to provide to staff. And if there are adjustments, as I said, that need to be made, we'll certainly consider making those, because I know 7-Eleven has, had a huge hand in developing this plan, and they certainly don't want to create something that's going to not be effective or work the way they intend for it to work. So,
Right.
But again, we're happy to look at that much harder with staff.
And your building looked very nice.
Thank you.
That's nice
you.
to see. Further questions, comments? Please, Commissioner Johnson.
And it may be here and I don't see it, but on the ingress egress for trucks, is it marked? Will it be marked? Truck?
It likely will be. Yeah. In
Yeah, I
fact,
would
what will
suggest that
probably
y'all do
happen,
that.
what will probably happen is that the other driveway will actually be signed saying no truck entries and stuff like that there.
Okay, okay. So that'll be, that means though, if you don't have it, then cars will still do it, because I do it traveling. Second, since this will be, there'll be truckers and all that there, will this be open 24 hours?
I believe so.
Okay, I think I've asked that question
Yeah.
before somewhere.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, and then probably assuming that because it is 24 hours, there will always be at least 2 people working in there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, that's,
Well, one of the things that you run into now, a lot of your stores that serve, that markets with gas and everything, you've got one person in there, and then they close at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Or something, because they've got to do some kind of maintenance or something. So you can't either get the receipt, which is very aggravating, or say, well, it's
I
true,
know.
so I think this is very needed where it is. I think we're going to get those tax dollars, but besides that, we're going to service our citizens that some people come back in from working, driving.
Correct.
So if you're on 840 and you come back from going east and you come back, going west, unless you want to stop at 109, this will be in Mount Juliet. A lot of people get off on Golden Bear.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will go to the interstate on Golden Bear now too. It's even going to get more as some things develop on Mount Juliet Road.
absolutely.
So I like it. Thank you.
Commissioner Franklin?
Just a question. Do we have ordinances in place that prohibit overnight parking on public streets? We
On
don't.
public streets,
Well,
we do, but it's from certain hours, I think maybe like 1 to 5 a.m.
for like truck traffic that could, because, I could see all of Rutland sort of lining up, kind of just being on the side of the road, just waiting to get in or out.
I can see our police officers over there lined up for them too.
So that isn't legal, is what you,
Only from 1 to 5, but you can't impede the flow of traffic either. So there is ordinance in that, but it wouldn't be like a planning ordinance. That's like an ordinance for the police department.
Another good point to that, Bobby, is talking about parking on the shoulders of Golden Bear. We have put up a lot of signs out there for no parking on the shoulders. That seems
And that's
to-
become a huge issue that the
That
police
has become a
department is
big
handling
issue.
well.
And so that is something that, we probably are going to need to tackle a little bit more extensively in the future as well. That I could see that being maybe a little bit more of an issue in the future.
well, this is going to attract a lot of customers.
It is for sure.
Yes, it is.
They're going to be busy.
Yes, it is.
I mean, there's nowhere for those employees and their servicing associated servicing companies to go.
It's fascinating.
Think about all the Jackson Hills, Snow Hall,
Exactly.
all those people using Golden Bear now.
Mhm.
I use Golden Bear and live in Willoughby, and there's, I hate to go to 109, but if I don't get gas,
I
there's
know.
nowhere in between.
Right.
Well,
Right.
the other thing we talked about, with you guys, some previous conversations, is that there's a lot of land to be developed out here in this area, and this could serve as a catalyst for more service-oriented type businesses to come in that area, which is appears to be badly needed out there, and I'm certainly desired.
And I will say, you guys are going to start seeing a lot of convenience stores in the next few months on the agenda in this area.
Sure.
So,
Have we had any comments from those neighbors in past?
from Jackson
On,
Hills?
no, on Rutland?
No,
Those
sir,
5 or
we
6 houses
haven't.
there?
Mm-mm. Several of those actually got destroyed in the tornado, so they might be looking to redevelop themselves.
Because personally, I would not be happy with a 24-hour, the light canopy obviously is.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think that they would be affected because they're so far away.
Okay.
I feel like the SEVA probably puts out more light on them than this
Than the
gas
gas
station
station.
would. Yes, sir.
Let me ask a quick question for Andy. Because I really like the design off of Golden Bear, and I know this traffic is your forte. If they leave, on my plan, you got the yellow right there, and then the property line right. let's just say that that becomes kind of a quasi two-way stop.
Mhm.
Is there going to be enough movement if that 18-wheeler's coming in off of Golden Bear right there to slide in and then make that jog to get into this parking lot? Or will we need to kind of push that entrance to the adjacent property, which is undeveloped, we're not even seeing tonight? Do we need to push that down a little bit more to better plan for that when that happens?
I would actually, that's one of the things that looking at that access point, you talk about, I think kind of what you're talking to is what we call throat length, as far as how long the throat
Yeah.
is of that drive before you actually make a decision.
Yeah.
Or have intersecting traffic going there with you. And given the nature of this, one of the things we talked about on and off with this, I know looking at the traffic study, and I don't know if, I don't want to litter up Golden Bear with a bunch of right turn lanes. It's kind of one of the things discussed in the traffic study, but not one of the things that we included as a comment. And it's mostly due to the nature of part of it is I don't want a sea of asphalt out there on Golden Bear, for one thing. But I think too, the offset to that would be creating a much longer throat length in there to where that access drive between those two is, if you had it more in the mid portion there of that site rather than there at the front, or even if you just moved it back another 50 to 100 feet or so, it would probably make a large difference as far as trying to get that traffic in and getting that driveway, the intersecting drive coming in there. It'd probably do a lot as far as trying to facilitate those movements.
We look at that because I mean, if this goes through and gets back from BOC and then back to us, I would say that somebody would be smart and hit somebody's radar pretty quick that a 7-Eleven's going on this corner and that additional OPS there next to it would probably, I would envision we would see that in 12 months or less.
Mhm.
Yeah, somebody smart would do that.
Mhm.
Very well. Just something I hope we look at. Further questions or comments? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This time, let's call for citizen comments regards this item on our agenda. Any citizens wishing to make comment are welcome and encouraged to do so. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion for a recommendation in regards to this item back to the BOC. For a positive recommendation? I'll second that. Got a motion, please?
Could
Mr. Franklin?
I ask you to entertain maybe prohibiting overnight stays of trucks? If they're willing to do it, it is a PUD as a condition.
I don't think it's, okay,
Just no overnight parking on those 5?
where's he at? Do y'all, you don't want any overnight parking?
Mr. Knuckles, could you mind to come back to the podium?
Please. Good call.
I'll discuss that with 7-Eleven. I assume it's not part of what they're anticipating here as part of the business model. Again, they're not set up for, they don't have showers and other things like a normal, like a Love's or something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to talk with them about it. I can't imagine that they would have an issue with that. But I'll certainly talk with them about it.
And honestly, from a staff perspective, you could post that, but I mean, who's going to enforce it? But it would be nice to be posted, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
So what you want to include?
Yeah, I don't want to go down there and enforce it, but, it would be very difficult to enforce.
Posted, no parking then?
Absolutely.
No overnight
Posted
parking.
no-
Nope.
Overnight parking, yeah, so we just include that too.
That's a comment.
Yes, for
I
that
support
comment.
that. My second remains. Motion and a second for a positive recommendation that does include the support of the variances within there. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? That is a positive recommendation. Thank you. With that being said, I am looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Commissioner Searcy, Commissioner Franklin, with the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye, against, abstentions. We are adjourned.
We need to get that thing built next week.
Oh, I know.
Excited about that.